Ooh, ooh. Okay, there you go. We're perfect. Wait, okay, there you go. Now we're perfect. Faithful interaction. Let me open this now. Uh. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
I'm pretty sure that's literally the first line of the, short story. Wait, what? Oh, that's kind of weird. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Okay, like thingy and thingy. Okay, cool. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes on look for the Elder Sign, which is this right here. You can also access all of the found facts later. They'll be available in the main menu. Kind of weird how they had that line and then it's like here, learn how to play the game more.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
So yeah. We'll just say don't do that.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
You know, I could say the same thing, but just replace morphine with League.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War and World War I. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914, because they were wild back then. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Stirner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the US. You know, they were crazy back then.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Yeah, no, you can literally, back then you literally go to your doctor and be like, I have a cough, and they'd give you, crack, morphine, heroin, and be like, here, take this.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Move around a bit. Oh, okay. Alright, I'm not reading that. There's just too much text there. Let's see, is there anything else? Oh, okay, so I guess I walked that way then.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Managed about it. Alright, hopped in the boat.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
See, literally says never a competent navigator, but then also says like less than half a second later he's south of the equator by the sun and stars. So I'm not sure that's how that works. It's kind of busted. I mean, it's actually just about it.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Oh, I'm supposed to look for something? Sensitivity on this game is weird. Wait, actually, what am I looking for? Hold on. Oh.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Was this a water skin?
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept.
It's interesting music
Its
in the background there.
details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Yeah. That could be a slight problem. Yeah, you know, it's fine. We got like a, what are those things called? Like a nautilus or an ammonite or whatever the hell. Giant slug thing and some octopuses. You know, it's fine.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see,
No, I don't really see a problem here. It just seems like a normal day.
and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I mean, as I said, I don't really see an issue here. Just, you know, the homies vibing on the beach. You know, like, you don't normally see, like, a bunch of, like, octopus just, like, all over everywhere.
For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying
What was that
fish
noise?
and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight.
Oh, we got a
save vast
starfish.
reach of black slime.
Or, not,
Yet
probably
the
not.
very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Oh, you got the fish. That's normal.
The
Like,
sun
what?
was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Oh, look, there you go. You got a trilobite. Interesting. Man just hates fish. I actually didn't know that. Wait, you just like walked on top of the octopus, like the octopus, like that?
As I crawled into the stranded
Like, damn.
boat,
Okay.
I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
What is that?
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Watery depths. The shark line.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
What the hell is going on in the corner over there?
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
I want to know what that is. Okay, fine. What we got going on? Right, like fish. Nothing? Alright.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
Wait, what the hell's that thing?
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Hey, where are we
That
going?
night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Oh, look, there's that right there. Alright, so where are we going? Oh, okay. It's the actual bag.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
What is this? Hey, we're gonna walk on top of it like that?
All day I
What the
forged
hell is
steadily
that?
westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Yeah, these are like... Alright, this one right here is just like an actual roach from SC2. And this is like those things from Starship Troopers. Okay, we got a nice giant whale. Whatever this is, and obviously whatever that is, because I mean, can't even tell.
That night I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Yeah, we got like giant sea slugs. Probably, you know. Oh, here we go. That is true.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
What's that shiny stuff?
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Wait, what's
I
the
know
shiny
not
things?
why my dreams were so wild that night. But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Okay.
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
Wait, what do you mean?
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
Oh,
Indeed,
well, I mean, that does make
I now
sense.
felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Okay, so we're climbing up here now. Oh, no secret hidden things.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly
we climbing
easy
down, let's go.
footholds for a descent. Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Right, down we go.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
Look, there's like a building right over there.
Into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Not like, a building, but like a giant stone thing.
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon. That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
I mean, yeah, it'd be really weird if, like, this was just randomly made.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
Yeah, the fish made it.
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
I mean, there's not like a lot around, but sure.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm,
We got some symbols on it.
and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
We're gonna take a
The
swim over there?
writing was
Oh.
in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
Oh, we got turtle, shark, hammerhead shark, like great white shark looking thing, seahorse. What do you mean you haven't seen these before?
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic
There you go.
symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Spellbound the game? At the Mountain of Madness is actually pretty good. Also, I do want to play Nameless City. Hunter in the Dark is really good. I mean, Hunter of the Dark is really good. You know, Call of Cthulhu is obviously like one of the more well-known ones. The Migo are actually pretty cool design-wise.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
Ah, looks like the homies.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
It's just the homies.
Curiously
Like,
enough,
and
they seem
the
to
rest of
have
them like
been
that.
chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size,
I'm saying, as you see a beached whale, this is why.
but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me.
You can't really say that nowadays.
Then, suddenly, I saw it.
The water's kind of moving a little too
With only
much.
a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Fiend-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
You know, the water doesn't look like it could actually be that deep.
I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Let's go. Gotta run. The deep ones are after you.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat.
The boats.
At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Are we hopping on the boat? Whoa, what's going on?
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
That's, you know, the more normal transition. Middle of some, like, you know, eldritch hellscape with, like, beach octopuses and stuff, and then you wake up in, you know, San Francisco hospital. I don't see an issue, you know, that's how it normally goes.
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
See? He's just getting scammed. Oh, why is there so much text on this one? Actual wall of text.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Yeah, the fish. Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, yeah, I mean, close enough. Worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of the Akkad chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder, one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. You know, it just be like that. Gotta worship the fish god.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
What's this? Oh yeah, Derleth's actually pretty huge. Yeah. Derleth was actually like really huge for like a lot of like the expansion upon it. What am I looking for? Oh, there you go. No, the music's kind of interesting here.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
Wait, this is where I literally started.
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Hey. I mean, that's a take. I like this part right here though. Quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. Like, okay.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war.
Man of War from Darkest Dungeon.
This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed.
I mean, yeah, the ocean is kind of wild, especially since it's like barely explored.
Worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. of a day when the land shall sink, and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Damn, that's a lot of Spinos. Damn, they're raiding the US with the
The end
Spinos?
is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Is there any, like, secret thing? No secret thing? Okay.
It shall not find me. God, that hand! The window! The
What happened to
window!
it shall not find me. What happens if I just, like, stand here just watching it? No? Okay. That's an option. But yeah, no, that was actually really short game, but it was pretty good. Obviously, you know, it was a bit interesting when it came to the transitions, but I mean, it was overall pretty good. Also, like, they could have worked on designs. I think that was just supposed to be like a regular deep one. It looked really weird, not gonna lie, but it's good overall. Yeah. Oh, I'm actually missing some. Interesting. I don't really care about the 100% though enough, so not gonna lie. Yeah, that's all.